Hey there guys, welcome back to ARTFX Studios Sound Design Saturday, and I want to wish you guys a really happy new year. I mean, this is the first video of this year. I'm still a little bit sick, I catched a cold, so if my voice sounds even weirder than normal, bear with me. I got a couple of questions in the last couple of weeks of people who wanted to know how to make ambience and textures kind of sound. You hear them a lot in darker sounding music like drum and bass and stuff like that, but the other kind of music that you hear them in a lot is the background music of movies. Just watch any sci-fi movie or horror movie and you'll get what I mean. You can create these kind of sounds in so many different ways, and the most straightforward one would probably be synthesis, but I find that when you really want to create interesting textures, synthesis will require a lot of work to get to a good result. And sometimes sampling can give you much more interesting results in a much shorter amount of time. And the results that you're going to get with sampling are most of the time so complex that it's really difficult to recreate them using synthesis. So today I want to talk a little bit about how to create these kind of sounds in a way that involves sampling. And what we're going to do is we are going to time stretch samples. Now, time stretching itself can be done in Ableton Live, and most of you are probably aware of the warping modes inside Ableton. You can use them to totally, time stretch a sample. And that sounds good when you don't really time stretch it too far. But for this kind of thing, I really want to do much more extreme time stretching. I'm not talking about time stretching something like twice the length of the sample that it is. No, I'm talking about time stretching up to 100 times the length that it currently is. So I've got a couple of samples already in here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and show you these samples one by one. So the first one is the sound of, I think it's something of glass breaking or something. It's some sort of a glass kind of sound effect. Pretty short, but it's really great. The second one I have is a lion growling effect. It's a little bit longer, so it will also give us more to work with in the end. Then I have this metallic clang kind of sound, like that. Really standard sound effect. Then I have another metallic sound, but this one is something, an object sliding over a metal plate. You get that. Then I have a weird raspy kind of sound. Sounds like that. Then I have a very long recording of dripping water. It sounds like this. This would actually be a pretty good layer on a Nerfunk drum and bass, by the way. Putting this as the high layer of the sound will really work very well. Then I have this really famous sound effect. It's basically the sound of the Transformer robots. Now that one has a lot of movement in it, so when I'm gonna time stretch this, we're gonna create so many different kind of sounds, I can guarantee you that. Then I have another really long recording, and this recording is basically a recording coming from YouTube, and it's a recording with all kinds of sounds that you would hear in horror movies. Thunder. Let's see what we got more. You know, those creepy kind of sounds. And there's a lot in here, so we're gonna end up with something really interesting. And then finally, I've got a sound that everybody of you conspiracy theorists probably already heard. it's the sound that's been popping up on the internet all around the world, and it's basically called the sky trumpets, sky horns. I don't know. I haven't heard the sound myself yet, but I do need to say it really resembles the sound of a waterphone instrument. So I don't know, waterphones sound really similar to the instrument that you are hearing in this particular one. Let me show you. Especially these kind of parts. I mean, pitch down a waterphone and I think you'll get pretty up close to what this sounds like. Another sound that's really similar, by the way, is in a movie called War of the Worlds. Every time those aliens come out of the ground, they create this sort of sound, and I'm not sure whether this is real, whether people are really hearing these things. If they are, I'm really interested to know what it is, but yeah, so I'm gonna use that sample as well. I've saved all these samples in a folder, and let's duplicate all of these tracks. So I'm gonna get 2 versions of all of these tracks, and I'm going to like that. So we now have all these samples like this, and I can delete the bottom ones. So I'm now going to switch to a piece of software called Pulse Stretch Extreme Sound Stretcher or something like that. It's called Pulse Extreme Sound Stretch. Now, Pulse Extreme Sound Stretch is a standalone piece of software. It's not a VST. It doesn't work like a VST would. You actually need to open this piece of software and then put your sound in, put the amount of stretching in, dial in how much you want it to be stretched, and then you go to write the file up here, and it will basically save it as an audio file, which you can then load back into Ableton to see what it's done. So let's open up the first sound. Open up audio file. I have my folder already here. And the first one that I'm going to do is the glass.wave. So I've now opened up the sample basically, and I can see that this sample is 1 second long. So this 1 second sample, by just using the normal default algorithm, I can make that 1 second sample into a 2 hour and 46 minute sample. That means I'm gonna stretch this sample 10,000 times. Now that's a lot. And when you do that in Ableton Live, it's gonna sound really bad because you're gonna get a lot of the time stretching artifacts. And when you time stretch using this program, it's actually gonna re-synthesize the sound that you put in there. So you load up a sample, you time stretch it, and it's gonna re-synthesize the sound, which is totally gonna create much better time stretching. It also got some other modes. We've got the normal stretch mode, which goes up to 10,000 times, but we've also got the hyper stretch, and the hyper stretch is insane. I mean, this sample will now be, on the longest setting, will now become 31.6881 billion years long. So if I would render out this sample, it would take more than 31 billion years to listen this sample back. Now that's a little bit of overkill, but you can understand what that is going to do. Let's set it so that this sample is going to be stretched by about 31 times, and that will make that 1 second sample into a 30-second sample. So I can also preview the sound. So let's click play and see what we get. So that already sounds a lot more like a atmospheric kind of sound, like a nice kind of background sound that we could possibly use in a movie. So there are a couple of more things we can play around with. You have the type right here, some different algorithms that you can use. Will not really change the sound too much, will only give it a slightly different kind of sound. I don't really play around with that too much. I most of the time just use the standard one, which is the Han. We can also go to this process tab. Now this one is a lot more interesting because you can see I've got a lot of different options. Now, one thing that I could do, for instance, is I can pitch shift this down. And this goes in cents, so one semitone is 100 cents. So if I want to pitch this down a full octave, that means I need to pitch it down 1200 semitones, or 1200 cents, sorry. And I can do that like that. And when I now play this, it's going to create a lower pitched kind of sound, but it's still going to sound good without too much stretching artifacts. It's much lower now. See? And I can go further. I can pitch this down to a lot more if I want. I've also got an octave mixer, which is pretty cool as well. I can basically blend in the same sound, but an octave above, or an octave below, or 2 octaves below. So that really involves quite some possibilities. You've also got a frequency shifter down here, so you can shift the actual frequency of the sound. It's all going to create different effects and different outcomes. So it's really fun to play around with, you know. And there's a lot. You've got the compression, you've got a filter built in, so you can basically high pass or low pass if you want. Really great. And there's just a lot of stuff to work with, you know. You've got the spread, which is basically gonna work like the panning kinda. You're panning the sound in terms of the stereo spectrum, so you're gonna get totally different sounds with a lot of more stereo character. Really great. Then you've got the binaural beats tab. I haven't really used this one, to be quite honest. I'm not really that interested into this particular one, because for me, it just involves too much time to spend on making this or using it. I mean, why would I use it? I don't need it. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. One more thing down here, you've got the stretch multiplier, and what you can do, if I enable this, I can draw in a custom shape, and it's gonna follow this shape when I play this sound. So right here at the start, it's just gonna multiply by that 30.98 times. But as soon as it comes to here, where this line goes up, that number is gonna become a lot higher. So I can see, for instance, right here where we are at 16, which means that we're gonna get 16 times that 30 times. So it's gonna create a longer file in the end. I don't use that too much, so I'm not gonna use it in this particular example. So now this sound is set up in a way the sample is gonna become 30 seconds long, and that will create a sound that sounds like this. I'm gonna take off the pitch shifting because I don't want that right now. I think that sounds pretty okay. We could go even further, you know. I can stretch this up so that it becomes about 2.5 minutes. See how that sounds. Gives us a lot of noisy kind of character. Now, because this sample is quite short to begin with, going through this amount of settings is not going to sound that right. It's only a 1 second sample, so making a, well, about 30 seconds, 28 seconds around there is probably going to sound best. So we've set everything up now, and now I can go to write to file, and basically here it asks me how long of the clip I want to export. Well, I want to export the full clip, so I'm going to keep this at 0 and 100%. Then I'm going to press render selection. It's going to ask me where I want to save the file. Now, in my favorites, I've already got one, stretch sounds, and I'm going to call this one glass.wave. So now I'm going to render this, and I press render. It's rendering this, and now it has actually rendered the sound. So I'm now going to do the exact same thing for all the other sounds that I just showed you. And after that, I'm going to come back and we're going to look at all the files and see what has actually happened. So, So we're now back in Ableton Live, and I've loaded up all the samples that we've just exported. You can already see that the length of the actual samples has changed significantly, with one of them becoming over 90 minutes long. That's a lot. That's a long time. Let's just go in there and see what has happened. The first sound we had was the glassy kind of sound. That one. I've stretched that to a pretty fair amount. And we still have these two volume changes going on. And it basically now sounds like this. So that last part, this part, could actually be used as a train that's coming into a station that's braking. And when you would put the sound of train wheels underneath this, it's going to sound like a pretty convincing train that is braking into the station. You know, those squeaky, metally kind of sounds. It's definitely going to sound good for that kind of sound. Then I have the lion growl. That sound. Now obviously this one is going to sound much more low end. It has become quite a long sample. We still have that 3 different volume changes going on. It's sounding like this now. So that is some amazing texture. I mean, this could easily be the background sound for a horror movie or a video game. If I go to the second part of that sample where that growl really is going to come in. sounding really good. It sounds pretty damn well. I can also show you the difference between time stretching with Ableton Live and time stretching within a piece of software called Pulse Stretch. So to show you that, I'm basically just gonna stretch this sample all the way to the right. Well, I cannot even stretch it further than this. Let's just show you how this sounds. I've now stretched it as far as possible, and it's gonna sound like this. It could also be useful, I mean, but I generally don't like the tone of that particular stretch effect, because you really hear that it's time stretched, and for this particular sound, it's still really clean. And it could easily just be a normal sound like it was recorded. So let's go on to the next one. We've got the metal clang kind of sound. That sound. And I turned that into a pretty long sample, as you can see. And it now sounds a little bit like this. So that became a really interesting sound. Can be used a lot in movies to create tension and stuff like that. Really great. Now let's see what the difference is when between this sound, time stretched, and this sound, time stretched. Both are metallic kind of sounds, but the second one is gonna sound totally different. Listen. I mean, I could even use this in a build-up for a track. I mean, just put a filter on it, gradually bring in the higher frequencies. Great build-up sound, really good. Then the next one, I had that weird raspy kind of sound. I don't even know where it's coming from, but it's just a really weird sound. I've time stretched that quite a lot, and that turned it into this. Really noisy kind of sound. Some interesting stuff going on in this particular area. Has a lot of low end, by the way. It's pretty interesting how just time stretching a sample can create such different effects. Then I have the water dripping effect. Sound, sorry. Now that one sounds really interesting, and I'm really wondering what has happened to the final sound. Let's bring up the volume a little bit of this one, because the volume became pretty soft. Let's listen to this. This could be something like an interstellar kind of wind thing. Something in space, maybe? I don't know. Really interesting, but because we used a stereo recorded sample of the water dripping, we're actually getting some really nice stereo ambience kind of things going on. As we can see, the top one is the left channel and the bottom one is the right channel. And we can see that this particular type of motion here is only in the left channel and not in the right channel, which creates really interesting stereo kind of stuff. And it doesn't sound like water anymore at all. And the further in the sample, it's gonna sound totally different. Some more stereo stuff going on right there. Really great. Next sample I had was the Transformers sound. Now this one is really interesting. I'm really wondering what Paul Stretch made from that sample. It became about 2 minutes long. Let's listen to this. Okay, this sounds really interesting because you get that sort of rumbling kind of sound underneath it. So this is definitely something that I would use. And when I hear this kind of sounds, I'm instantly reminded of how easy it actually is to create background sound for film. A lot of movies use these kind of sounds, and I'm definitely sure that this is the way they create a lot of their background sounds. Just time stretching whatever random sound you have and see what you come up with. You know, different kind of sounds are also going to get different kind of results. So, really important to think about that. Then I had the recording of the horror sounds. And I think this one's going to be really interesting as well. It has the thunder sound. It has creaky doors. Interesting background noise. Some weird human-like vowel kind of sounds. More thunder. And this was already a pretty long recording. This recording was about 5 minutes long. And I turned this into a 90 minutes recording. So let's see how well Paul Stretch has done it. If we look at this particular waveform now, we can see that it still pretty much looks exactly the same as this waveform zoomed in. But we can see that the actual transients of the sound have been totally stretched out. And let's listen to how this sounds. So first, we're gonna get the thunder kind of sound. Let's see what it created of that thunder. So that became pretty interesting. So, as you can hear, we've now created a lot of texture and a lot of ambience, and every part of this particular clip is sounding different. So here we got that vowel character. Sounding totally different again right here. Oh, here's where those higher kind of pitched bell sounds come in. They create a totally different sound. Really eerie. Really spooky. This could be easily used to create tension and to bring up a feeling of fear to the listener. So it's sounding really great. The last sample that I have is the sky trumpets, the sound that's been heard all around the world. This particular sound. It's a really weird sound, and normally I wouldn't really use this kind of recording. As you can hear, it has people in the background and stuff like that, which isn't really that usable. But when I'm gonna stretch this to really ridiculous amounts, those people are gonna be washed out. They're gonna be like they're blurred, and you're not gonna hear that it's people. So this is the stretched version. Now these sort of atmospheric things you're hearing now are mostly the people. And then we get the metallic sound. So here's another one. There you have your classic horror movie effect. Let's try this one. Those are your classic horror movie background sounds. Really. Then we've got this one. Really nice stuff. it actually sounds like something human, you know? Like something is crying. Like an angel or some kind of demon, I don't know. Sounds amazing. Oh, that one sounds interesting as well. Got a really nice low rumbling kind of sound. There it comes. So, there you have it. A really easy way to create tremendous amount of interesting sound effects. And you can create such amazing background noise for either film, your intros for your dark sounding music, or whatever you want to make. Time stretching is a great way to create interesting effects. So, I'm gonna put a download link to Paul's Extreme Sound Stretcher in the description of this video. And it's a Windows piece of software, but I have looked around a little bit and I already saw that there are Mac versions of this software. It's not from the official creator, but there are people who basically ported the Windows software to a Mac version. So for all you Mac users out there, you should still be able to do this. I hope I shed some light on sound design and using time stretching to create interesting sounds. If you have any questions regarding this or other videos on my channel, please leave a comment below or tweet your question to @ARTFX STUDIOS on Twitter. My Twitter name is also going to be in the screen somewhere right now. Now, if you like these videos, then please subscribe to my channel. That way you'll keep updated on all the newest videos. And I'm gonna do a lot. There's gonna be much more tutorial videos in this year. I'm gonna promise you guys that. I had great fun creating these sounds. I'm gonna export all of these stretch sounds to my library. And I'm gonna keep them for later use. Because I really think I can get some really interesting stuff from this. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, please press the like button, because that will really help me. Next week, I'm gonna go on sound designing some stuff. Upcoming Tuesday, there's gonna be another tutorial Tuesday of the Glitch Hop season, where I'm going to continue creating the intro of the track. Last week, on Tuesday, there wasn't a video. I was actually gonna do a video on New Year's Day, but I was pretty sick, you know. I felt really sick and I lost my voice. So without my voice, I cannot speak. So I couldn't do a tutorial. I hope you like this, and I'll see you back soon. Peace.